Dr. Mo Show, where we talk about having the freedom to shift. Welcome back to the Freedom to Shift Dr. Mo Show, where we talk about doctors who have really made a shift. And today I've got Dr. Ryan Mallory, who I am so excited to talk to, because talk about a shift. You have taken control of your time, which is just key. We were just talking about family, but I want to know kind of what was your impetus, what caused you to say, I can't do this anymore?
I hear you. Thank you, Dr. Mo, for having me on. I'm excited to finally meet you and talk with you. And I mean, when you look at making major changes in your life, it's either there's a big gain to be made or there's a big pain that you want to avoid. And it started out as a pain I wanted to get around. And that was, I remember the moment I was on call. Just a little background, I'm an interventional cardiologist, right out of training at the end of COVID. There weren't any jobs in the city I was in, but about an hour out there were. So I started commuting to work about an hour away, stayed overnight every fifth night for interventional call. And I tried to set up barriers so I was at home for my family as much as I could. But the administration and the time I was there, it started encroaching and it became more difficult. And so my wife said, I can't take this anymore. And, those are never words you want to hear from your wife when you're on call, and I thought everything was going well because I thought I had set things up that, I was home by 5:30 or 6 o'clock, most nights except when I was gone. But I found out as delving into that more, I was home, but I wasn't present. I was still getting calls, I was still getting messages, nurses were still calling me, and then the kids would go to bed and then I'd go back and do my notes or read echoes. So even though I was physically there, like the person she married, the person I wanted to be with my kids as a father, wasn't. And so at that point, it's like, we need to make a shift because I'm in year 2 coming out of training. This isn't going to go on for 25 years until retirement. And so that's
But
when I
yes, it
started.
is. But oh, yes, it is.
Yeah, but oh yes, that would have been, I would just have to adjust or maybe find a job closer to home. But I looked and the job itself wasn't set up to optimize my time. There's just a lot of time that I was checking boxes, doing things that I wasn't taking care of patients. I wasn't enjoying taking care of patients. I was trying to get on to the next thing, making sure that I hit whatever metrics I needed to click whatever boxes to get the patient checked out of clinic to get home. And then, there's a procedure added on at the end of the day. And if you don't do this procedure, the patient can't get surgery for another 5 months. And so there's just a lot of strings attached to, I get it. I signed up to be an interventional cardiologist. It's important stuff. But, when I started medicine when I was 25, I didn't know what it was like to have a family at 35. And I wanted to be present with my family, help raise my kids as they grew up. And so that's what led to me, long story short, shifting to 100% locums, probably quadrupling my income for the amount of time that I'm working, and then taking back, half of my month to just be with family.
I want to address that because people won't believe you when you tell them what you make. Same here. But let me go back instead, because this is where I'm amazed and enamored by the fact that you realized this the second year out. I was out for 15 years before. That's why I said, oh, it does. Because, I didn't hit a critical mass point, I guess, until my grandmother died, which is really what made me think, is this what I'm going to do forever? Like this isn't, I can't. But you saw this at 25, and the way you phrased it, when I was 25, I didn't know what it would feel like to have a family at 35. How do you tell that 25-year-old to look ahead?
Yeah, it's kind of tough because it's like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And you don't have a crystal ball. And I don't think you realize the impact that children have on adjusting your values in your life and your expectations. You think you're going to live a certain way, and then you're taking care of these little people that are part you. And now all of a sudden, the relaxation that you wanted at the end of the day, that's gone because now I'm reading bed stories and getting the kids to bed on time, and I want, to make their plays. And, all of a sudden the stuff that's important changes. And it's tough other than just to say, this is very likely going to happen. And the best way you can set up your life for yourself to optimize to do what you want to do. I mean, maybe you don't have a family and you really want to travel and you only have 3 weeks PTO, and now you're working all year to travel 3 weeks a year. So, I mean, it can go different ways, but it's really, if you have control of your time, you can set up your life to do what you want to do. And I've just chosen to, especially with my kids being 8 and 4 years old, to being present with family, with raising them, and, trying to set up so that I can be like that the rest of my life.
And that's amazing. And I love the way you look at things from what I know. I've been on your website, I've kind of dived in a little bit, and you really do work to optimize financial stability, number one, because let's be real, that's what it's coming down to.
Absolutely.
Because when I asked, I could not believe this. And this is one of the concepts that floored me. I was talking to my husband, who's still full-time clinical, and I said to him, so how many docs, if they could make as much money doing something else, would leave? And he's like, oh, 100%. He just, boom, off the cuff said it. And I was like, what? Because I loved my job, and there was no way I was going to leave that department. And I was drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm not going to lie. And my situation shifted such that I didn't work there any longer, which is a godsend in retrospect. And I knew it was at the time. It was just really, really hard. But you have the foresight to look ahead and understand that, no, this isn't about chipping away, clipping coupons, saving in a savings account. This is about creating an abundance mindset, creating more income, exponential income increases, and exponential time increases. That
Absolutely.
doesn't, and that's a 10x concept that in medicine we don't do.
No, we're not taught to be entrepreneurs and businessmen. We have a pipeline on how to save people's lives and not do everything perfectly. So we're not taught that it's okay to fail, which you need to do in order to build any successful business, any type of passive income. You have to try, make mistakes, iterate, and continue trying again and not giving up. But that's not how we're taught. And then we don't get any business classes on how to manage money once we get it. And then we also saddled with debt to get there. So now it's like, okay, I want to be conservative. I want to make sure I'm making enough money, I can pay off my loans, and I can live the life I've been waiting for 10 years. But it also, now I have no control over my time. And it's the path of least resistance, because why do I want to create a startup after going through medical school and residency for all this? I just want to work and make money and bring it home. But the work it's been getting more and more to the point where, the amount of time you have to actually be at home is a lot less than you think it's going to be in training once you finally make it.
I agree. And like you said, it may not be family as, where you're trying to carve out your time. It could be travel, or it could be family from the aging parents aspect. I've got some docs I talk to that it's not their children. Their children are older and grown, but their parents are aging, so they need to get there to be with them. It's just seasons. And if you can be prepared for those seasons, but you are 100% right. Number one, I hated, I took accounting 101 in high school, and I still remember just hating it. It's all I remember. I don't remember anything about it. And now I live my life steeped in numbers, because you have to. If you don't create systems, whatever business you have will fail. And unfortunately / fortunately, that's also the business of your home.
Yeah.
And if you're not prepared, and I am nowhere near where I should be. I realized, probably much to your mortification, that about 15 years I had my head in the sand and was just playing ostrich. Like you said, it was survival mode. I was just making money, saving a little bit, and then, not living extravagantly, but living. Recently, we've started to uncover and started to look for asset protection routes and just start to actually take my head out of the sand.
Yeah. And I can't take full credit for my enlightening. It was, I would say, 95% my wife. She's also a doctor. She's a radiologist. And she became a mom, and I was not around as much. And she'd come home, she has shift work, but she's completely drained by, what it's like. You're on the whole time. You come home, and now you're also a full-time mom. And then I came home, and it wasn't the balance that we thought we were going to have. And, she started asking the right questions and then posing them to me. And I was very resistant. I was drinking the Kool-Aid too, until I talked to some people to see what the other side was like. And then it was, the fear of failing to make this transition. It started being, how am I going to feel if I 10 years down the road haven't done anything and I'm still where I am? Now that regret's going to come up, and that's worse. So you want to avoid that. And it's like, what do I have to lose? And especially for me, trying out locums, which is the avenue I use to create all this time freedom. Worst case scenario is it doesn't work out and you go back to a W-2 job, because there's, a shortage of physicians. there really isn't a lot of downside to trying out being your own boss.
I think that's something that everyone who's listening needs to hear is that there really isn't a downside. That you had to learn some things, like you said, you could just get out of school and you're like, I don't want to learn anything else.
Right.
I don't want to work at this. But literally, if you take an hour a day, you can build a business. Because I'm on that launch pad. I consider myself that launch pad for doctors who are afraid to shift. I give them the permission slip. It's the freedom to shift. And you take an hour a day and you learn these concepts and implement the templates and frameworks, you could be making $10,000 a month by the end of the year, no problem. You and I talking understand that's an easy thing to do.
Right. I mean, it's the same type of thing in when you're a resident. And how long did it take you to treat someone with chest pain the first time you were a medical student or a resident? You'd be an hour and a half putting in orders, putting in your note. Now you have 5 to 10 minutes to diagnose, figure out, is this bad? Is this the heart? Is it not the heart? All right, let's move on to the next patient. I've got the appropriate labs in. I mean, practice, repetition allows you to get faster and better at it. And it's the same type of thing with building a business, getting your own time, taking these risks. Is once you do it the first time, then you can just continue doing it. You get that momentum, but it's getting out of that place of being stuck. Whether it's fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of losing what you have. But once you make that shift, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this isn't too bad to learn these new things.
And for me, it became fun. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I've always had a company solving a problem. None of them took off the way this one. Again, I solved a bigger problem. But it gets fun. It gets really fun. What was your biggest fear? We talk about fear of failure, and a lot of docs I see, I think it's fear of failing publicly or feeling like they're selling out.
Yeah, I was worried what other cardiologists would think about me, the people that I worked with, when I put in my resignation, when I said, oh, I'm not going to another hospital, I'm going to be locums. There was a stigma in my mind that locums was someone who wasn't able to get employment elsewhere, that just kind of went wherever they were taken, not that these were the doctors that were providing a service to places that needed it and could negotiate their own salaries and maximize their income and their time and actually had complete control over when they worked. Like, I didn't understand all of that. And so it was that fear of not really being ostracized or just what would other people think about me, which really it doesn't matter what other people think, because the people that matter is what does my wife think? What do my kids think? So once I shifted that, I'm like, are they going to be happy that I'm in Washington, D.C. at this conference with these other cardiologists, or that I'm out, freeing up my time? And, they just want me to be around more. I'm at the age where I'm the coolest person for my kids. So, every time I'm home, they want to do something fun. And I know it's not going to last, so I'm making the most of it while I can.
There's a little bit of sadness and regret, not sadness, and it shouldn't be regret. I understand that. I don't like the word should or regret, for that matter. That, my son's 12, and I actually found a picture recently where we were sitting on the couch in the morning and I was laying down. I think I was probably sleeping. Yeah. And I think my husband came up and took that photo, and my kid was kind of nestled in the little spoon, and he was sitting there. And granted, I was home, like you said, which still means the world, right? But now, he's right down that hallway, and he knows if something happens, I'm right here. Mm-hmm. And that soothes my soul.
Absolutely.
I might not have done things perfectly. Who does? Let's be real. Especially, like you said, being a business owner, nothing's perfect. Everything's falling apart. And that's okay. That's just a random Tuesday.
Right. If you don't quit, you're not going to fail as long as you don't quit. You just got to keep on picking up the pieces and putting things back together. But I think it's important to create that bond with your family. There was a article I saw about whether medicine was a calling versus a profession, where older physicians in our fields think you should be at the hospital all the time. You're doing this to help patients. And then, your families are around, but there's not that focus. And it's not really work-life balance. It's more choosing intentionality of where your time is. But I'm of the younger generation where I think you need to have that balance where you have protected time to live your life and raise your kids. And, my dad did a great job. He's a family practice doctor. He got home at 6:30 every night. My mom would take care of all the child rearing, and he's been very present in my life. But he had long days, and EMRs came out when he was in his 50s, and that was one of the most stressful things for him. He had no control over it. And I was like, I don't want to be in my 50s and be working harder than I ever have. I want to be able to have the option to say, you know what, that's not what I'm planning on doing. I'm going to do this instead. So I think I've learned from that older generation that took it as a calling. I think this is the better way to secure my longevity. So I'm going to be the best doctor I can for as long as I can, because I'm excited to go to work and I'm taking the best care of my patients, because now I'm not depleted. You think differently when you're depleted and on cortisol 100% versus when all your hormones are balanced and you're getting enough sleep. You think better, you connect more with your patients, you provide a better product.
You save more lives. I mean, that's been proven that healthy doctors save more lives. And I'm still floored because I'm sort of stuck in between. So, I grew up with T-sheets, paper T-sheets, right? Yes. Dinosaurs roamed the earth and we had paper T-sheets. And so the EMRs kind of came out at the very beginning of my career, but I am amazed at your ability to see. And maybe it's because your dad was a doc. I don't think so, though. I think it's just the way your brain works, which is really impressive to me, that you can look ahead and say, I don't want to be in my 50s and be working harder than ever before in my career. That's not the time. By then, you should have systems dialed in. You've got the savings, you've got the whatever, you've got whatever it is that you have been building. You should have built something of the sort by then for some stability, at least to stay the same, but not work harder. And for you to play that forward is impressive to me, because I sit here at 51 thinking, God, I wish I thought I was that way.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But like you said, once you make that shift, you can make a lot of gains very quickly, like you're experiencing. So, I mean, it sounds like you're getting to that point where you do have that control over your time. And, looking at your website, we're right in sync with looking at the 5 different areas of freedom that you can get back and what you can build with it. And it's powerful. We're able to synthesize a lot of information and understand it and act on it. That's what we were trained to do. So you take that out of medicine and put it into business and, watch out.
Exactly. And a lot of doctors that I talk to are like, but I don't know how. I'm like, you do know how. Look at what you do when you walk into work. You handle shit. I mean, let's be serious. Bad things go down, especially for those of us who work shift work or interventional cardiology for that matter. But the you're not doing hangnails, right? I mean, even in urgent care, what walks into an urgent care? Oh, that's not urgent care. Crap.
Right.
I mean, that's because as a physician, but you did say something about a calling versus a profession. And I think that you hit the nail on the head, that it's not mutually exclusive. That maybe what we thought was a calling 100 years ago isn't. And maybe the calling is to be the best person for both your patients and your family, because you can do both.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. So I think it's a shift in what is appropriate versus what's the status quo, what we're maybe trained to believe by the people that we look up to, but may not have that balance or understand that balance. Because you don't know until you know. It took a complete shift in how I thought. Like, I thought I was doing great. And then, I found there's a whole nother world of how I could set up my life. So, 3 years ago, I was very different than I am now.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I thought I was doing well. Like, I mean, I worked exclusive nights. In our house, we have protected sleep. So when you had a night shift, we had protected sleep. My mom lives close by design. She moved here when our son was born, so I could continue working. And it was like, but we had a good rhythm. I worked full time. I did 7 Ironmans in that time. It wasn't like I wasn't working out. It wasn't and I'm also not fast or an adrenaline chaser. Let's be very clear. It takes a Herculean effort to get me off the couch to get the workouts done. But I thought I was doing all the things pretty well. And I think I was, and you probably were too. Mm-hmm. But you hold yourself to a different standard now.
Yeah.
It's no longer a 2X standard. And if you've never read 10X is Easier Than 2X, it is a killer book. It's written by Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy, who also wrote Who Not How, because
both huge books. They're
just
amazing.
So good. I'm actually rereading 10X now again, because it's just...
The thing that stood out to me is it said the things that you do to become X are very different than what you do to become X. And what you're doing now is your 2X. You're slowly gaining over time, but you have to think and act differently to multiply your returns. So if you continue as you are now, there's a very little to no chance that you're going to be able to 10x your life and get to all these people where you're like, how did they get there? They just had to change and think differently.
And I never put that together until you just said it, because one of the stories that I like to tell is that I was walking with a friend and we were looking at these houses on the beach, that started at 3 million. And she's an emergency physician as well. And she looked over and she said, who affords these houses? I can't afford these houses and I can't work any harder. And that statement of I can't work any harder just cemented itself and I chuckled at the time because of the place I live now, the standards I hold. I said, you think they do shift work? And I chuckled. I said, they don't work that way.
Right.
And like you said, they think differently. So, how does the average physician think? We're taught. You come out, you pay off your loans over time, which is perfectly fine. In my case, my loans are such a little interest rate. They can stay there forever. Can I have more, please? I wish I wouldn't have paid them off as quickly as I did. But we're taught to chip away at the debt, chip away at savings. When if you looked at 10x and think differently, your entire life changes. I mean, look at, like you said, 3 years ago, your life and my life were completely different. How would you encourage someone to even open that door?
I think you need to you have to be open to asking those questions to change and realize, I guess, take a step back and realize maybe I don't quite understand all of the information, even though I think I do. So be willing to ask those questions. Seek out people that have done it and get some mentorship. Ask, how did you do this? How did you get to where you are? And being open to changing, even though, like, as a physician, it's almost like it's a sunk cost. I went through residency, I went through fellowship, I spent all this time to be a doctor, so this is what I need to be. But in my mind, now that I've changed it, medicine's just the beginning. I can continue to do what I've trained to do, but then do more. I can, just as an example, last year I made the same as I did the previous year and I worked 101 days rather than 200. So I worked half as much as I did. And, I moved cities. I moved to our dream destination because I was location independent.
Nice.
I was able to take off winter break with my kids, things that I didn't think I'd do until retirement. And now I'm doing them now, like when it matters. If you've ever read Die with Zero, you have different phases of your life. As kids are growing up and they're, under 10, the quality time you spend with them, that's the most important, thing for them, is that you were the type of presence you had when you're with them. And so that's what I'm focusing on in this phase. But I didn't know that until I had to just be like, you know what? I'm not thinking of this right. I need to start looking for new answers from sources outside of what I'm used to.
And I think that's it. We try to solve the problem with the knowledge we already have.
Yeah.
And you can't. I mean, kudos on moving to your dream destination. Like, that's just incredible to me. I don't know why. I mean, you worked 101 days. Like, I want everyone who's listening. You didn't give up medicine, because my goal is to keep physicians on the ground. I mean, let's be serious. We need them.
Yeah, for sure. There's not enough of us, and I don't think you can solve the shortage by hiring non-physicians to extend the care. I think you need to have somebody that's been trained in their subspecialty, and until we get more people trained at a higher rate, we got to stay around, but we got to stay around and be sane.
Yeah, right? You have to have something to give. I mean,
Yes.
We all know the consultant you call in at 4 a.m. I mean, nobody has much to give at 4 a.m. Let's be serious. Even if you're used to working nights. I mean, I did full-time nights for 15 years. And even if you're used to it, it takes a toll. And I can tell you from that 50 perspective, I just turned 51. It was 6 months ago, whatever. I'm clinging to this. But being here, it's a different spot. I mean, my husband's my age, and he actually said emergency medicine is a young man's game.
Yeah.
I mean, at 4 a.m, you see a 70-year-old consultant coming in at 4 a.m. They're not rejuvenated. They're not replenished. They have nothing to give.
They need about 4 days to make up that sleep deprivation.
Yes. I mean, that's huge. That's a really good point. And, it's funny because as I got toward the end of that full-time career, I call it flop day, because flip day, you're usually pretty good that next day, because I used to be able to flip, and I always flipped. I did not maintain the night schedule. Because again, you have little humans that depend on you to be present. It was flip day and then flop day, because that second day for us and my husband thinks the same. That second day is like, it's not happening. It's just, and 2 days to recover from each time you flip.
And that's when your kid's like, all right, you're home. Let's go do stuff. let's let's go to the zoo. Let's go
Doesn't a nap
swimming.
sound like fun?
Right. Exactly. So they're just like, all right, you're here. Let's hang out. And you're, as my wife said, I'm here, but I'm not present. And that was the thing to avoid. I mean, and it also, from my experience with locums and negotiating overtime pay, I get called in the middle of the night. I'm a lot happier. I'm a lot more collaborative with the ER docs. They call me, I'm happy to answer their question. Where a lot of times, my colleagues may chew you out. Like, this is common sense. Why are you waking me up in the middle of the night? Where it's like, oh, I'm here to be woken up to answer your questions so you can move on to your next patient. You don't have to worry about this anymore. And I understand that. And I provide better care. There's no loss of medical information because I'm grumpy. Like, I'm able to think clear and things aren't missed.
That's a hell of a statement because a lot of, no, some well-established physicians think a part-time career is less worthy. But I'll tell you, that patient that you're taking care of doesn't know if it's the first day you've worked that month or the 20th. All they know is what you have to give. And if you have nothing to give, it's funny because I always think about things very differently depending on, where the conversation goes. And I am asking myself here, when you have nothing to give, is it really worth it? I mean, I know so when we talk about the way things are always done, that means a doctor works depleted. Mm-hmm. It's just the design. But why?
I mean, and you hear stories about patients saying the doctor didn't listen to me. He came in, I said something, he didn't acknowledge me, he didn't, connect with me. That's because he was just working to get through the visit. He figured out what was going on. He's conserving energy. He or she is conserving energy. So that extra time to ask about your family, learn about you, I mean, that takes extra time and effort. And if you don't have that energy because you're running low with everything else, I mean, it's tough to keep that up for every single patient you see, which for you, it's probably 30 or 40 patients in a shift. So, I mean, I get it, but if you are there, if you are rested, you can bring that in, and I think you get a better physician-patient interaction. And let's be honest, you don't have as broad of a differential when you're tired and trying to move on to the next person. You go to what's most likely, and maybe not consider things that might mimic what's obvious but isn't quite right that could be missed.
And it is all energy. I think you hit the nail on the head. You just don't have it. No matter how many good habits we have, I don't think we can outsmart our biology.
No, we think we can, but then I get doctors with heart attacks, so we're not immune.
Well, yeah.
We're also humans as well.
And, and I thought I was doing a very good job. And in November, I was diagnosed with 20% mixed plaque in my LAD. And I was like, well then. I didn't see that coming. And my husband actually laughed because, the past 3 years have been a tremendous health shift for me. So it was probably twice that when I got cleared to do the Ironman in 2022.
Yeah.
By a cardiologist. But I wasn't there for that. So because they thought because I was so active, I'm sure your vessels are fine. Well, the outside doesn't always match the inside, right? And I thought I was doing okay. And I've actually had doctors say to me, oh, I'm doing fine right now. I don't need to look for outside things or outside income streams or create different ways to replenish my energy. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, now's the time you look. The best time to grow is when you don't have to.
Right. It's a cumulative process. Just like coronary disease. You didn't do it, unless you're using drugs. You didn't do it in the last, month. It took the last 20 years
40.
Of how you lived your life.
Yeah. I earned that. Trust me. Yeah. I earned that for sure. It doesn't run in my family, but that's it. It's a cumulative process. So you have an amazing path. You saw that there was a door where most physicians don't even, let alone cracking that door open. You saw that there was a door that maybe I could do things not better, differently. Who are some of your mentors? Who did you go to? I know you help other doctors now.
So there was a coach that I hired. His name is Vikram Raya. He was a cardiologist, is now a high performance coach for other physicians. His program is named Limitless. And my wife and I talked to him, and he kind of set up a framework of how to change things around. And he started at the bottom of the pyramid with health. And, we did some fasting. I got off caffeine. I used to have to drink a cup of coffee just to get home at the end of the day, to then not needing it, and then from there, what type of questions you're asking, what are your goals? We sat down and talked to him. What sold us is we gave him our 10-year plan. He said, you can do that in a year and a half. And we're like, what do you mean? And then he told us how we could do it. I mean, we have. So he was right. And I didn't understand how that was possible until I saw someone map it out. And so I got coaching. I didn't do it on my own. I didn't figure it out by myself. You can either pay for all the experiences that lead you to making good decisions, or you can pay somebody else who's made the mistakes that can tell you how to circumvent them. And, it saves you a lot of time, which is the most important thing. So my wife and I did invest in coaching. When I got into short-term rentals, there was a lot to learn on that side to do that correctly, to get the tax savings and have an investment that returns passive income. So I invested in coaching in that when I went into it, not just doing it blindly. So then when I help people, I'm distilling the stuff that I learned, the thousands of dollars I spent, and packaging it into something that's easier to access. And then, if you want to go and do full-blown coaching, go for it. I've got recommendations on where to go. But if you want to at least get started and see if it's right for you, or if you are a go-getter and you take the blueprint I put together and execute it, then, you're going to be better off than where you are now, assuming that you're already asking the questions of how can I optimize my life and get more out of it.
I think that's fantastic. And a lot of people don't understand that. They're like, well, I don't want to pay $20,000 for coaching, when they don't realize that one investment or whatever that was. I mean, I don't know. Actually, it's funny. That's the second time I've heard of that program this week. So I'm listening. I'm listening. And, I'm already on a path, and I don't trust coaches who haven't gotten coaches. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
You distill all of those things, and that goes to your people. I mean, every framework I run I founded a remote lifestyle medicine practice, and that's part of what I teach physicians is how to do coaching, consulting with or without telemedicine, because telemed's kind of a pain in the butt. I mean, I'm going to be 100% honest. It's a lot more regulatory than just using your experience to help others. I mean, let's just call it what it is. But I could either make I'm lowballing because it makes me feel better about it, $400,000 worth of mistakes in a year and a half that I took that I wish I would have had someone closer to me. That's the part of it. They can't be way over here. They have to be kind of close to bring you to that spot.
And
I wish I would have had that.
Accountability to do it.
Right? And you need someone who's going to say, listen, what are you doing? How is it? How are things going?
Or that money talks too. If I'm spending $20,000, I'm definitely going to do everything, because why else I'm not going to throw the money away. So then that gives you the impetus to actually take the actions that you've been putting off.
100%.
I hear you. So for my short-term rental investing, I invested close to that amount in coaching for a year, but I wouldn't have known how to approach a bank to underwrite a property and get a loan that ended up the way that I did the loan saved me $60,000 purchasing the property. So I tripled the return. I would have made a $60,000 mistake if I had gotten a loan I originally wanted. And then I talked to the coach and said, hey, what do you think about this? I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger. And he's like, dude, what are you doing? Pump the brakes. Like, try this instead. And lo and behold, I mean, I got part of my renovation paid for by the bank. I got, a commercial loan rather than a, second home loan. I calculated I saved at least 3 times what I put in for the coaching that I got in a lot of areas of, working with short-term rentals and real estate. But this was just one where I had no idea how much I saved. And I would have figured it out later on and been kicking myself.
Yeah, definitely the hard way. I mean, I think about that. I mean, that was a 3x ROI on an investment, but you had to be willing to make the investment. But you already knew. You already knew that coaching pays. Coaching pays off. Good coaching. I've made plenty of, but again, how do you find a good coach unless you find bad ones and then you realize, and they're not necessarily bad, they just don't fit for what you're doing possibly. Some are bad.
Yeah. The jump that I made when we decided to do it is there was someone we were looking at possibly to get into coaching, and we saw them go to the coach that we ended up getting and pay them immediately to coach them. And it's like, well, if we're going to have them as our coach and they're paying this guy to coach them, let's just skip it and go straight to him. And I mean, it really helped us it decreased the time it took to make an action and see the result. So it compressed the amount of time for us to change. When you meet with somebody every 2 weeks or, throughout a year, by the next 2 weeks, you probably have done more than you would have done in 3 or 4 months. And then that allows you to take the next step and the next step. And that's how you get growth. There's all these little steps. And the overnight success is a bunch of steps that they took to get to that point where they took off.
And you have to move your feet. I mean, you really do. And I know a lot of doctors are very, very tired, and you're like, I don't have the energy to do this. But like you said, and this is, I need to respect your time and the listener's time, because I could talk for a very long time with you. But one of the things that you said is, where will you be in 10 years if you don't do this? Because when you X your growth, when you just incrementally grow, you're going to be a little bit farther ahead maybe, or you could be living a completely amazing life in your dream destination, not at 65.
Right.
Now.
Absolutely. When you can actually enjoy the destination.
Right.
You have your health. I mean, that's something that, you want to use when you have it. Take all those trips to the places you want to go to when you can actually explore them.
100%. And that's it. Like you said, you can't get back time, so why don't we compress it? That's absolutely.
What's been the biggest thing that has opened up with you regaining control of your time? What's the biggest change in your life?
Other than like sleeping like a normal human being with the circadian rhythm. I mean,
That's huge.
It's the first time in 20 some odd. I mean, I always did nights because I love nights. So I've done nights ever since my clinical rotation started when I had the opportunity. I hate working days in the hospital. It's just, that's who I am. But I think mentally, I see a world that I always had a glimpse of, almost like a parallel universe where I always sort of knew it was there. But now with my coaches and with my contacts and the people that I'm around, there's a world out there that in the bowels of the hospital you don't see.
Absolutely. Some other people liken it to the Matrix, unplugging and seeing how things really are.
I hate to say it. I know, because I mean, I love being a doctor.
Yeah.
I love emergency medicine. And, I probably say this analogy every episode because it's so important to me, because it was part of the identity shift took me a year and a half, honestly. Mm-hmm. And I wish I would have had a coach to help me through that part, but I didn't. And I still don't know of anybody who can help through that part except for me, because I got shingles. I lost half my hair.
Jeez.
And it was hard. I ruminated. It was horrible because every time I'd go in for a shift, I would be like, but I'm good at this. I like this. This is what I do. But then there's this other part that's drawing, because when you save the life of a mom and that mom gets to go home and hug her child, that's an important calling. But if I can save over 1,000 doctors to stay on the ground for even one more shift and save one more mom, look at the lives that get impacted that way.
Absolutely.
So that's what actually keeps me, like you said, I worry about what other people will think. A lot of that's internal. What will I think? Am I still doing all I can to help patients? But if I take the drama out and I look at it, the answer is yes, you're doing more. I mean, how many locums doctors, because there's no difference, right? It's literally a location. Right. You're still the same doctor.
Yeah, I travel, to places where they can't hire full time. So for me, it's a 2-hour flight and an hour and a half drive right now, the place I'm currently working. And I'm asked whether I can be their doctor going forward. So the care they're getting, I'm filling in for others. I'm part of a rotation, but I'm coming in fresh, and even though I don't live there, I'm providing the same care, and some patients feel like it's better. And they're like, can you be my cardiologist? And it's like, well, I live in Dallas. And so then that throws them for a loop. But, they're just very happy that I've taken time to talk to their husband, to talk to their family, to come back and explain things when more family shows up, because, I'm compensated appropriately, and I chose a place where I'm not, completely saturated with work, that I can take that time that's meaningful for the patients. That's the thing that they're not necessarily getting, and explain what's going on. So
absolutely.
I think providing better care and impacting more lives, it's definitely a good, and the number of years you've added on to being a doctor and not burning out. Taking care of yourself first does help others. You just got to break that initial cycle that we're trained to continue.
Yeah. We're trained in the old educational model of you go to school, you get a good job, you retire, and then you die. I'm like, oh, you might have a couple years in there after you retire to kind of, maybe travel, maybe take a cruise. Okay, hope you enjoyed it because you're kind of done. Like, that's it. Right. That's how fast life goes.
It's getting faster as you get older, I've found. I don't know if you agree, but I don't know
It's
how
real
my daughter
fast.
got to 8 years old already. I remember when she was 2.
Right? Well, my son just passed me in height.
Wow.
So there. That's I no longer I see this baby.
When
And
you look
those of
at
you
it,
with
yeah.
like and I'm like, I'm staring you in the face and you have leg hair. What do I do with that? I mean, that's where are we going with this? But again, that's it's life and boy does it pick up speed. And when I watched my grandmother decline, it affected me tremendously. For the last 5 years, she barely got out of the recliner because every time she would get out, she fell down. And she couldn't sleep flat because she didn't have enough strength to get up. It's just all the things, all the things. We know all the things. And I just looked at that and I thought, if I'm not intentional about this life, that's me. I don't want to do that. I just don't. So if somebody hears this and they say, wait a second, what? There's a new way. Wait a second. I don't even know where to look. I don't know where to start. Where do they find you to start opening that door, either for locums or for short-term rentals?
Well, I have a website called halftimefreedom.com, HALF time, like the halftime of a playoff game. And I lay out what the opportunities are that you could have in your life by embracing these freedoms, gaining control of your time, and then using that time to then create passive income, separate yourself from work so that you can earn money while you're doing the things that you love doing. So that would be a good place to start. You can contact me, and I'd love to help out as many physicians as I can, because it's been a great thing for me. And the last point I wanted to make is we're impacting all the physicians and other patients, but the other thing is I'm also modeling for my kids how to live a life where I care for myself and care for family. So I think that's going to be another thing, that whatever they go up to do, whoever they impact, that's another benefit that I'm passing on, that entrepreneurial mindset and to the next generation.
And that's a legacy. That's a huge legacy. And, people think entrepreneurs and we think, I've got to be Elon Musk. I don't know if anybody wants to be Elon Musk. I mean, anyway, that's an entirely different podcast.
For sure.
But, we think you have to be this big entrepreneur. That's not what that means. That just means having your autonomy and freedom to create a life that you want. And you've done that. And I love it. So thank you so much for your time. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this conversation. I can't wait to see the amazing things that you do.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mo. I appreciate you having me on and helping me reach out to other physicians. It's been a pleasure to be a part of your podcast.
Thank you. And we will talk soon for sure.
All right.